UFC 295 just took place. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prohaska in the main event, and the co-main event being Tom Aspinall versus Sergey Pavlovich. And I want to do a quick reaction to what happened in the co-main event and main event. I'll be focusing mainly on just those two because it was kind of a really crazy last two fights. And let's be completely honest with ourselves. I thought it was a decent card. It wasn't terrible. I mean, it was kind of bland at times. But this was kind of a strange card. They really stacked up 296, and this card felt more like a fight night with just two amazing co-main event and main event. So rather than speaking on everything that happened before, I want to focus on the absolute craziness of the co-main event and main event. Wasting no further time, in the main event, Tom Aspinall, he KO'd Sergey Pavlovich. So before I go further, I did have Pavlovich winning, but I definitely was leaning to Aspinall as the days went on. I have proof of this. I was in the MMA Guru chat, and I was mentioning how the more I watch Sergey Pavlovich and I see his footwork, the way he moves, everything I've seen from Sergey so far, he's knocked out guys like Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa and Curtis Blades, who are so flat-footed. Like they don't really move as well. They're not light on their feet. Their heads are just there for the taking. It's kind of like a bouncy ball. You just whack at it and they just stay there. Versus Tom, we saw early on in the fight, he gets tagged. He's immediately moving. Had great head movement. And I was thinking, as I was watching some tape, I was like, you know what? Tom could really get this done. He's just so fast. Now, I had him winning by second or third round submission. I had him kind of playing the leg kick game, which he did use. He was landing great leg kicks. Utilized that, eventually get the takedown maybe in the first round, just try it out, see what it's like, how strong Pavlovich is, and really get it in second or third round and get the submission. But I mean, he just got the knockout, right? He knocked out the most knockout artist currently in the heavyweight division. And it's just a reminder that precision beats power and timing beats speed. I know it's a saying that's been said to death, but Conor McGregor was 100% right when he said that. It's not about what use is power if you're not precise. These guys are heavyweights. They all have power, so it kind of doesn't apply to them. If you're a heavyweight, chances are you have some form of power, and Aspinall is one of the most precise. He's also fast, so it's crazy. We were talking about precision, power, timing, and speed. Aspinall doesn't need to worry about what beats what because he has all four of them. And he is probably the best. I mean, now that he's beaten Pavlovich, he's arguably the best heavyweight in the world because he's interim champ. I think he's the flat-out best heavyweight in the world. He has a track record to prove it. John Jones submitted a Cyril Gane who doesn't know how to wrestle. Impressive, don't get me wrong, but I just think Tom Aspinall has proven that he's the greatest heavyweight on earth. Really, really good feel good moment. You know, it was you see the way he gives the title to his dad. He gives the belt to his father. The way he was emotional as soon as the fight was over. The referee stopped it. He just flops on the floor like a couple of times, just in complete awe. I think when you watch some of his interviews leading up to the fight, you could tell he didn't really believe in himself that much. Or, I mean, he believed in himself. He's a top-level fighter, but it seemed like he was kind of making... He mentioned more than a couple of times that these are not ideal circumstances. Like, that's a fact, but the way he kept mentioning it made it seem like he was kind of building it up to when he eventually lost, he would be able to say, oh, I just took the opportunity, but it wasn't in my favor. But it ended up working out, and he said it in the interview, like... when Joe Rogan was talking, when Joe Rogan had the mic to him, he said that you just got to take the opportunity. So a great feel-good moment. Really, I really feel bad for Pavlovich. I'm a huge Pavlovich fan. I wanted him to win. I love Pavlovich. It's just really unfortunate. He got caught with the 1-2, put out cold. But I still think he's great. I really do think he's... You saw the way he stunned Aspinall too. Like, again, aside from Aspinall, there's only real... Cyril Gane's kind of the only guy who moves like him at heavyweight, right? Nobody else is going to be moving with the shots like that, like Aspinall was. So, question is what's next for the heavyweight division? Well, John Jones is probably out until August with his injury. I was listening to Dana White just now in his post-fight or in the post-show press conference, and he mentioned that right now the goal is still to do John Jones versus Stipe. The UFC loves those, like, look, we have the GOAT over here versus the GOAT over here, and this is a big fight, and just making up all this headlines. They love those headlines kind of stuff. It reminds me of when I used to watch like WWE. They love doing those headline fights, those headline matches that even if they didn't make sense to book, but because they had that like once in a lifetime style of a headline next to it, they would book it anyways. And I feel like the UFC's forcing this too much. Stipe, when Dana was talking about Stipe, he said that Stipe told him that he doesn't really care. He only has his eyes on John Jones. So basically, Stipe didn't say he has his eyes on the heavyweight championship. He said he has his eyes on John Jones. For all intents and purposes, Aspinall feels like the undisputed champion. You don't need Jones versus Stipe to be for the heavyweight belt. I don't know why. It makes no sense for Aspinall to hold a belt while Jones comes back and defends his belt against somebody else. The entire point of an interim is that Jones is no longer the undisputed champion. He's just champion. When he gets introduced by Bruce Buffer next time, he's not referred to as undisputed champion. He's just a champion. He's not undisputed anymore. There's another guy with the belt. It makes no sense for him to fight Stipe and ignore Aspinall. I get the UFC really they badly want this fight. They think it's going to make good money. Honestly, GOAT versus GOAT, you don't need a belt for it. It sells itself. That's a headline right there. Let Aspinall take care of the division, right? Because if Jones is out until August, but you have to keep in mind the UFC schedule. Now we're assuming he comes back in August and he'll be ready by then and good and everything works out. But September on to October. September is, I think, typically their Australia event. October is their Abu Dhabi events, and I don't think they're going to do Jones in Australia, and I don't think they're going to do Jones's fight in Abu Dhabi. This is probably going to be his retirement fight. They're going to keep it for November of next year when they go back to MSG, which is when they typically go there. And everybody kind of knows at this point this will be a retirement fight for either men, one of them, or most likely both. So why they want to hold up the entire division, have Jones or Stipe win, and then immediately vacate it just for Aspinall to become undisputed champion when he can make him undisputed champion right now, have these two fight for the GOAT status, or not even for the GOAT status. It's just a fight. It's a fun fight we'd like to see. Doesn't need the belt for it. And no reason for Aspinall. Is he going to be defending the interim belt while Jones defends his belt against Stipe? It makes the sport seem so stupid. It makes Aspinall's win against Sergey seem like it was for nothing. A champion once to become interim champion, the goal is to try to unify the belts. And that's what the UFC's goal should be. As far as Pavlovich goes, I think he could fight Ciryl Gane next. He's one of those guys, man, that just 1-2 big wins away from getting a title shot. I know Ciryl Gane's really, really rallying for a title fight, and I mean, he's only gotten, what is he? He's on a 1-fight win streak right now. I mean, he's not going to get a title fight, but if he beats Pavlovich, he could make the argument. So I know Ciryl Gane really wants to fight for the title again. Fighting Pavlovich, beating him would be the best case scenario. I'd probably go with Pavlovich, even though we just saw what Aspinall did, light on his feet, like I just talked about. But there are certain things I think Aspinall is better than Gane, in all honesty, and I could see Pavlovich doing better against Gane than he did against Aspinall. So now we're gonna move on to the main event. Alex Pereira, he KOs Yuri Prochazka. I said this before, even a year ago, this was my dream fight, my number one dream fight in the UFC, aside from Petr Yan, TJ Dillashaw, and then TJ retired. So this is my number one dream fight. And it started off, man, had the most legendary intro stare down. You saw Yuri just standing there, Alex staring him down as well. Yuri refusing to back down. It was wonderful. When the fight started, I think for people, the idea was this was going to be a war from the start to the end. I understand. I kind of felt like that too. But at the same time, I had the feeling that the more I thought about this fight, it would probably be Pereira kicking at him from range, kind of going for the jabs to the body, Yuri doing his weird, goofy stuff. Round 2, things kind of picking up where we get a finish, and if not round 2, round 3. That's basically what happened, right? So round 1, Pereira really destroyed his legs in this fight. All throughout the fight, Yuri was acknowledging it. Yuri's big weakness, we all know he has, is that he does not check leg kicks. So his legs were swollen and he was showing visible damage. And you don't eat leg kicks from Pereira. I mean, that is a different power right there. Pereira got taken down, but I was so impressed with his grappling defense. Again, the guy is improving so quickly. Yuri has great ground and pound, and he could not get anything off on Alex. He was so disciplined, so smart about what he was doing on the ground, and then he picked himself back up. I'm really impressed by what he's been doing in the grappling department, and I was impressed by Yuri too as far as going for the takedown. Right, we don't typically see him do that. In the fight, Pereira was getting caught. He did take some shots, but he takes a shot well. He's moving back. He has his eyes on his opponent. He's not getting hit. Like Mike Tyson said, the shot that knocks you down, the shot that knocks you out, is a shot you don't see coming. And it seemed like Pereira saw all the shots coming, which is why he was able to take them. Yeah, I mean, he ended the fight with like a right hook, left hook combo, drops Yuri pretty bad. Yuri immediately goes for the takedown, eats a large amount of elbows to the side of his head, drops him once more, and Mark Goddard stops the fight. And that's where things get kind of controversial, because a lot of people are saying, well, was that kind of early? I thought it was a bit early. He was recovering. Mark Goddard seems to have this thing. I guess he's so afraid of Pereira just like maybe killing some guy by accident in the octagon that he really steps in. Now the Adesanya one I think was a bit better, simply because Adesanya was not showing any recovery. He seemed out on his feet. Yuri was on the ground. Sure, he dropped for the second time, but the way he was pulling on Alex made it seem like he still kind of knew where he was. I think Alex was going to finish him anyways, but you kind of have to let him do that. You have to let Alex get that finish. The guy definitely will. It's a matter of a couple of shots, and it annoys me that it happened like that, because I feel like people are going to take away from Pereira's huge victory. It's not fair to him. He won this fair and square, and just because Mark Goddard messed up, Pereira's still super impressive. Yuri's wonderful as well. In the post-fight speech, I want to mention quickly that Pereira calls out Adesanya, and he mentions the interview that Adesanya gave that really inspired Pereira, where Adesanya said this guy would be a nobody in a bar, talking about how he knocked this guy out once. Pereira's like 5-1 against Izzy now. He has 3 wins against him, 2 in kickboxing, 1 in MMA. He beat the two guys that beat him in MMA, Jan Blachowicz and Sean Strickland. He actually trained Sean Strickland leading up to his fight with Adesanya, and Strickland ended up dog walking Izzy. And he became light heavyweight champion, something Israel Adesanya never did. So it's funny looking back that Adesanya was saying Pereira would be a nobody in the bar. Pereira is like 6-1 against this dude now, double champion. He is, regardless of what that donut Daniel Cormier has to say, he is on the list of combat sports greats for sure. Now what's next? Pereira called out Adesanya. I was listening to Dana White say it, but he was basically like, no, that fight it's not happening. It's Jamal Hill next. Pereira was even like, look, you don't have to fight 3 times to fight me for the belt. I'll just give you the fight. But it seems like Dana has kind of shut it down, and I was kind of adamant. I mean, I don't think it was going to happen anyways. Adesanya is taking some time off, and I think he's going to wait to see the winner of Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis. And if DDP wins, I could see him returning to fight him, and I could see DDP wanting to give him that belt, give him that fight, just because he wants to shut him up for once. Wouldn't we all love to see that fight? Jamal Hill is next. Joe Rogan said that, but when's he really coming back? I read online that he said second quarter 2024, which is around April to June. We're assuming that. We don't know for sure. It could be a bit later. It could even be July, August. Pereira said he wants to stay active. I think this is really good. He's turning 37 next year, man. I mean, he's 36. Again, light heavyweight division. You can be a bit older and get away with it. Pereira he looks good, right? But you could see he's a bit slower than he was maybe 2-3 years ago, even when he was fighting in Glory. Part of that is just that he's fighting in a bigger weight class, and he's putting on muscle, right? He's grappling. When you grapple and you're doing a lot of grappling, you're putting on muscle. So I'm sure that's part of it. But also he put his body through so much torture with all those weight cuts. I'm afraid they might start catching up with him. So I want him to stay active, really use what's probably the last good year of his peak. Potentially, we never know. Glover peaked at like 40, so we might not even be looking at Alex's peak, which is crazy. But I want him to stay active, and if Jamal's going to be back like June, July, August, I want to see Pereira fight maybe April. I think he can make the quick turnaround. It seems like he wants to make the quick turnaround. The problem is just who does he fight though, because you have Blachowicz and Rakic, and I wrote Smith Ankalaev. I meant to write Walker Ankalaev. The winner of Blachowicz Rakic probably isn't going to get the title fight. It's going to be maybe Ankalaev Walker. So I think Yuri should fight the winner of Blachowicz Rakic. I think that's just a fight to make. If Rakic wins, they might give him a title shot. I don't think so at all. He's coming off a huge injury, just one win over Jan. I just don't think it's enough. Whereas Ankalaev, Jan Blachowicz, when he had the draw with Ankalaev, he was given the fight with Pereira and was told that if you beat Pereira, the winner of this fight will get the title shot, which is what Alex got when he beat him. So it makes me think that Ankalaev hasn't really fought since then. He fought Walker, but it was a no contest. It makes me think that he's kind of been given the same thing, right? If he wins one more fight, he's back fighting for the belt. This is all assuming that Jamal Hill isn't ready by like June. If he's not, I want Pereira to take a fight by maybe March. If he wants to, March is maybe a good time. April as well. Take a fight. It's going to be UFC 300, so he might not. But then May is fine too, UFC 301. Have him fight the winner of Ankalaev Walker. That's more than likely going to be it. And Yuri could fight the winner of Blachowicz Rakic. So I think that's what's next for the light heavyweight division. And yeah, I mean, crazy last two fights of UFC 295. Tell me what you guys thought. Did you enjoy it? Were you disappointed? Where do you think the heavyweight division, light heavyweight division, is going next? Let me know all of that in the comment below. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.